Good evening, Winchester. Hello, it's Visual Radio Live. The views and opinions on Visual Radio Live are those of the host, Joe Vig, and his guest, Frank Delastrito, and his guest, Ted Solovicos, and not necessarily those of Winchester Community Access and Media, and our wonderful station manager, Dave Gauthier, and our wonderful staff, Judy Kellerman, Sean O'Brien, Anthony Gamari, and all the members, and all the board members, and all the people in Winchester, and all the people in Salem, and all the zillions of stations that broadcast us, BNN, Manhattan Neighborhood Network, everywhere, everyone. Welcome, Ted.
Oh, it's great to be here, Joe.
Now, I want to tell everyone that I'm returning the favor because I was on the Grateful Ted show. Was that the name of it?
Oh, actually, no, it should have been, huh? But it was called Classic North Shore Rock and Rollers, remember?
I have no memory. I do remember now. Classic North Shore Rock and Rollers. And it broadcast and taped at SATV when Dave Gauthier was up there.
Yep.
So, and Dave was very helpful to me up there.
Oh, yeah. That show lasted for 3 years, and I just ran out of video. I'm amazed at all the bands who, of course, it was the early 80s, mid-80s, and not everybody had video cameras back then, but we happened to rent one at Rent-A-Center. It's the only reason we had one show from the Grover House in Beverly. Remember the Grover House?
That was smart.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think I ever went in there.
No, I went in all the time.
Well, yeah, because, you know, I lived in Woburn. Beverly is that bit of a hike. It's not there anymore, right, the Grover House?
No, it's called the, it's a restaurant. It was the Flying Horse or something like that. I forget what it's.
But, you know, yeah, we traveled around so much now to go to the Bull Run in Shirley. You know, it's a hike.
I know.
Is it the Bull Run that's out there? Or?
It's Bull Run, yeah.
Yeah. Because Bernard Purdy was there a couple of weeks ago, and I really wanted to go see him in one of the Orpheus bands. There's two Orpheus bands.
Yeah.
So two of the original members are split off. Bruce Arnold has one, and Harry Sandler, who's been on my show, has the other.
And Dave Davies just played it like 3 or 4 months ago, and
You're
I couldn't
kidding.
go because I was playing, and it was the Bull Run.
Oh,
Everyone said, let's go to
man.
see Dave Davies. I'm there. Of course, I'm one of the biggest Kings fans in the world now, but I can't cancel a gig, you know.
I probably saw you up at the Kinks show or the Ray Davies show up at the Hampton Casino.
Yeah.
Because I took my stepdaughter, Heidi Jo Hines.
Oh, you mean the Kinks show?
Was it the
Yeah,
Kinks show up there?
Show, yeah. I was right in the front. I have the set list. I was right in the front row, and the set list was written by Ray, obviously, because you know he had all the songs on it. He didn't even follow the set list, by the way, and it was just taped on it. So everyone said, "Don't touch it, Ted." You know. So at the end, as soon as the last, I just peeled it right off, and I went on the Kinks bus, and he signed it.
So, you know, you remember JoJo Lane?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So I brought JoJo Lane's daughter up, and JoJo's like on the phone, do not let so-and-so near you. I do not want my daughter associated with that person. And make sure everything is right, Joseph. Like, yes, JoJo. So, you know, when she meets Ray, I just don't want any of the hangers-ons hanging on. I said, you got it, don't worry. We always took care of JoJo. I just had I mean, she's gone.
Yeah, I know.
So,
well, she
you
used
know,
to drive around Salem all the time, you know, in the Corvette, when, you know, Denny.
in the Denny Lane days.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
I
yeah.
get this phone call, well, probably Facebook, and it's like, Joe, you got to get JoJo's clothes. So she had met a lot of my friends, and my friends became her friends. And then when the uncle died, Uncle Ira died, there was like all these master tapes and clothing and stuff. And they said, can you go rescue it? And said, yes. So I got it all in storage now. Now I got to figure out how to ship. And, you know, holding JoJo's clothes and putting it in storage, you can only imagine the emotions, you know. She died October 29th, 2006. This will be the 8th year she's been gone.
Really?
I mean, it's just stunning how the time just, you know, the kids are doing good. Boston, her youngest, is now 30. He was 3 when I met them.
Really? Wow. How time flies.
I mean, you know, really. And so Bozzy does my album covers. So he's out in California with his girlfriend. Heidi has her husband and their 2 kids, and then Lane is married. So the kids have all grown up. They're not kids anymore, but they're like, you know, 40s and 30s, and I call them the kids.
Yeah.
Because to me, they're always 3, 11, and 12. And, you know, Jimmy Miller was hanging out with us.
Yes.
The good old days. Speaking of good old days, you were on the Jordan Rich show.
Well,
Was that
pretty
like 2,
recently.
3 weeks ago? 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, I'm on there with Pete usually. Yeah, but I was about 3 weeks ago maybe. You know, it's perfect because it was after a gig, so you know he goes on at 12, and I think we were out of the gig that night at 10 o'clock or something like that. So we just zipped into the studio.
Where was the gig?
I think it was at Murphy's. I'm pretty sure it was at Murphy's.
In Boston?
No, it's in Salem. It's a place that we do a band gig. It's the only place in Salem we do band gigs for some reason, because it's a fun place, and we do it early. It's like it's Friday nights 7 to 10. So that's, you know, for guys like me and you.
Oh, that's great. What I'm saying, 7 to 10. I was going to say, because now you're going from Murphy's to BZ.
Yeah, so it was perfect.
And that's like 45 minutes.
Yeah, and actually it might have been on a Saturday night, because the Saturday Murphy gigs at 300 Derby Street is we're trying to do Saturdays because it's
right near SATV then.
Yeah, it's right down the street. It's 4 to 7 on a Saturday, so it's like, right, you can have another gig somewhere, or you can just, that's it, you know.
Oh, so you pack up by 8?
Oh yeah,
head down to see that. You don't even have to bring your equipment. You just go home, and then you go down to Jordan Rich.
Yeah, yeah.
So you went to BZ at like Soldiers Field Road.
Yeah. We got there.
The big white building.
That big white building. It's great to see all the newscasters and mostly the sports guys are leaving at the end of the night. You know.
It's great that that's great that you had that platform.
It is. You know, not many bands in the North Shore can say they do that. You know.
No, but you got a great legacy here.
We go back a long way. Remember, I'll never forget the first time I met you. But go ahead.
When did you first meet me?
At the Paradise.
So it was at the show you met me.
I'm almost positive.
Yeah, because I met Brad Glue.
Yeah,
Brad, you know, when I called
Brad
up.
our manager that night. When we opened up at Bon Jovi, I don't know if he was, but you must have met Brad Glue at another show at the Paradise.
Well, Brad Glue had been meeting with me because we did the record together that Stuart Dawson had produced.
Yep, that's it.
And it was, in the long run, really good song.
Yep.
Sequenced at the old Euphoria in Revere, Mass. Mm-hmm. We did a really good job sequencing, and then Jack Skinner, the engineer at Sterling Sound. So, boy, those were a lot of fun, and Smugglers in the long run. You played that at the Paradise, right?
Oh, I'm sure we did, yeah.
So what happened was I get a phone call from the concert promoter saying, you could put 3 bands on the show. Bon Jovi. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I'm in control of the Bon Jovi show. So I call up Ted's band, I called up Dorian Gray in Waltham, and I called up Jet Screamer in Revere. Brilliant, because the 3 bands just had this huge following, and I knew these bands had followings, and Bon Jovi had done about 90 tickets, and most of them were comps from you outdrew Bon Jovi. So when I was at the Scorpions show at the Worcester Centrum, I saw the manager, and he was like livid with me when I said, you know, my groups outdrew Bon Jovi. And he was like, no, they didn't. So of course you did.
Well, they were very nice, you know, to us.
They were great.
They wanted us to go to CBGB's or something within the next day or 2.
Really? To play with them?
Yeah, they said, well, just come on, because their first album had just come out with
Little
Runaway. That was a big hit.
It was a hit here, too.
And it was just getting on TV, you know. I think MTV was out there. I don't even know. You know? But we had to decline because we had another gig, and whoever our manager was, I think, might have been Brad Glue still. We always, you know, anytime Brad did something wrong, we would say it's a glue job. You know?
He was a good guy, though.
He was.
I mean, he hooked us up, and you already knew Stuart Dawson, who, you know, who I'm friends with through the whole Lou Reed connection. So, you know, Stuart and I are working on a Lou Reed book.
I know. Yeah.
So, you know, it's all a big family here in Boston. But he's on the South Shore, you're on the North Shore, and I'm in the middle. It's kind of funny. But that was a major show because Bon Jovi is so huge still today.
Yeah, and of course. It's much bigger than it was back then, that's for sure.
But, you know,
we should have went to CBGB's, by the way. Screwed up everything.
Yeah. I mean, that's a no-brainer, but who knew?
I know.
Hey, you know, you still got to play with him at the Major Concert Club, and that was a big, stellar gig. It was a feather in my cap. Yeah. Because it was like, wow, within like a week. Bon Jovi had like 15 tickets sold, and then they had like 90 more comps. That Polygram had. Yeah. He was on Polygram, right? I think he was.
I think so, yeah.
So Polygram had, you know, and then they said, put more bands on the bill. We did, and it was really good synergy. All 3 bands were really good with Bon Jovi. I think I did a masterful job of having bands that had the same kind of following.
Yeah. Well, me and our guitar player, Jim Foley, at the time, during sound check or right after sound check, or in between, we were just hanging out with John Bon Jovi and his guitar player.
Oh, if we only had video cameras, right?
I know. Yeah. And what was his guitar? What's his guitar player's name? I can't even think. But I really didn't know the guys. It was just, you know, shooting the crap.
Richie Sambora.
Yeah, Richie Sambora. I kept saying, "Who are these guys?" And I knew they were getting big, but
well,
I didn't
they
really
had
know.
Doc McGee behind them.
Uh-huh.
You know who he was? Doc McGee had Motley Crue.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why they were getting the royal treatment, because they had the Motley Crue manager was managing them. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like an insider, like Dennis Lehane was on my show. And the book company said to me, he's going to be huge. This is 99. Now we just interviewed him again, and he's huge. But they kind of know when someone's taking off like a rocket.
Yep. And
they knew Bon Jovi was going to be huge. That's why they said, Joe, this is a very important show. This is a very important act. But we didn't know.
I know.
But we had the inside line. They said, Joe, this is very important to us. Get the right sounding bands for this show. And we did.
Yeah. All I remember most of anything is that me and John Bon Jovi, Jim Foley, and Richie Sambora, we split a case of Beck's.
That's too funny.
Back when we used to drink and all that stuff back on the stage, you know, or before the stage.
And they're just another band like you, so you didn't get autographs or anything.
No, it's just... You know, no pictures, no nothing, you know. I'm sure there was pictures in the dressing room, but I don't know where they are.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Photos, it's like maybe they'll come up, but you do have a great Boston Phoenix or real paper.
That's
Not Sure Sunday.
Back there, that's...
Not Sure Sunday. Yeah, that's cool paper.
And let's see, what do we got here? This is...
Calendar.
You notice this is another North Shore paper back there. And we have a much bigger picture than, who is this, Tom Rush? So.
Band got a lot of ink. And they're a very, very good band.
Well, we were a fun party band, so.
Fun party band.
Yeah.
Now, is there ever a reunion, or can there ever be?
I tried to get one back when I had this CD released, The Time Machine. And I have some old Smuggler tracks here. And I think I did that in 1999. I had a reunion at the Chase House in Salem, Mass, right on Pickering Wharf.
And 99 seems so long ago. Oh, you got the Paradise Bon Jovi ticket.
Oh, yeah, the ticket stubs copied on there.
So they don't have Jet Screamer. They got Dorian Gray and Smuggler. That's great. 967 Com Ave. It's on the back.
See?
Wow, that is brilliant.
And it's a ripped up, and there's all cigarette burns on it. You know, actually, it's in here somewhere. I have it.
That's too funny. The box, Secondhand Romance. So this is great because you get Grateful Ted for 8 tracks. And then there's another 6 Smuggler bonus tracks from 1982. This is so important, the Time Machine. And I love the black and white cover. Now, where'd you get the Time Machine? Is that from a movie?
I mean, it was fitting for the record because we're going back to the 80s. Not that it's a long time ago, but it kind of is, you know. And there was new stuff I was working on, so it was just like, I'll call it the Time Machine, because it's one of my favorite movies. It was Rod Taylor, you know. I'm trying to get my girlfriend to watch it one of these times, you know. But
now, did you meet at a gig?
Oh, my girlfriend, not my girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know. Laura Jolin, great girl. She followed the Britannica band, you know, and we didn't plan on dating or seeing each other. She's just a big fan, and then. When I left my last girlfriend from like the last 5 years, I'm talking like I had tons of girlfriends. I don't, you know. I was married for 22 years. What?
Married for 22, then girlfriend
for 5 years.
5 years. That's a long time for 2 people.
Yeah, and the girlfriend before that for 5 years. And Laura, you know, she's just a great person, and she
loves the band.
Loves the band. And I finally have someone that says, you know, when you meet some woman, you know, and they like you for playing in the band, and they all, you know how it is, and then after 5 years, I hate this stuff. I hate what you're doing. You know, and you know, it's just like a.
One of my guests, and I'm not going to say the name, okay. Third wife.
Not me.
She loved him for the music, and all of a sudden puts the gauntlet down of like no more music. So he said the mistress this time was the music, because he left the second wife for the third wife. So I guess he's back with the second wife who really appreciated the music and helped him build a studio. And it's like, okay, that's all I'm going to say. But, you know, but then there's another musician that I played with. When I left the band, the girl singer joined the band, and she was the front person. Then they run off and get married, and then it's like, okay, we're out of the music biz. So there's 2 examples.
Yeah, no, that's not
Bolstering
happening.
Ted's.
Well, you know, Laura, I'm with Laura now, and
she's supportive.
Yes, because I'm recording at the house that, you know, we live in, you know, at her house, you know, and I just started recording again.
Do you go down the basement?
No, but I'll keep hitting my head in the basement. It's like a Hobbit basement, so I put it up in the living room, and I say, "You sure you don't mind that I put all this recording equipment? There's more to come still, you know."
Is it like that with the computer and
no,
the hard
drive?
it's you can't see that, but there's something over there.
Yeah,
trust us. That's
just digital, you know. It's just a 16-track, and then where I actually do most of my recording and mixing is at Kingston Records in Kingston, New Hampshire. Doug Mitchell. This is where I did both of these. Everything there.
I don't know Kingston Records.
Oh, it's great. It's as good as any Nashville studio.
There are some great studios. I'm working at Acton Sound. Wellspring Sound in Acton, where they have. They just have a big barn.
Yeah.
What does this place have?
It's at a barn because Doug Mitchell.
Right? Isn't that the way?
He raises horses and he's a harness racing jockey. So he's got the racetrack behind the barn, and in the barn he has this beautiful studio with 2 isolation booths, and where you play is as big as this, and he's got a. And
they're like this room.
Yeah, and he's got a lounge with a pool table in it, and a bar and all that. And not that we drink when we record, but.
There's another guy up there in New Hampshire that I know. I should know. He's got the mobile van. Really cool guy. He's got a big studio too, Metronome Studios.
I've heard of that place.
Yeah, and I should know his name. But so there are some studios up in New Hampshire, but it's a tough business these days because everyone can record into their computer.
Yeah, I know, but I feel comfortable going into a place, and he's a good guy. He's a good guy, and I just know that. You know, when you have a visual between the studio and the recording, you know, you get the glass between you. When I'm singing something or playing something, I like to see the guy who's recording me. I like to see the face, because I know if I'm doing something wrong, he's going to do it, you know.
An American Idol on the TV is not going to be playing into your music.
Yeah.
So.
And I was at a recording
at home.
Yeah. And I was at a recording studio about 4 years ago. And somebody was singing, some woman I know, she was singing and all that, and I was looking at the guy who was recording it and taping it and all that, and I said, well, she had some wrong notes. Not a big deal, because we have the pitch control in here, so we can fix it. I'm like, are you kidding me? You know?
Oh, nowadays in the digital, you can move. If a drum beat's off, you move the drum beat there.
Yeah, exactly.
If a bass note's off, you move the bass note there. We couldn't do this in the old days.
I know, yeah.
I remember one recording studio, it might have been Hirsch Gardner. It was someone, maybe not Hirsch, but the 2-inch tape we had. One of the engineers cut a bad note out, cut the bad note out of the tape. So the tape's rolling through with a cut in it, and the bad note's missing. But now with the computer, you just move, or you just remove the bad note.
Do that. Yeah,
you just erase it.
It's kind of cheating, but hey, you know.
Not really. No.
It saves money if you're paying for it.
It's not cheating. It's just because we used to do the same tricks with magnetic tape. It was just harder.
Yeah.
Cut and paste. Hirsch Gardner had on the second. That's number 3. This one here is number 3. On the second album, I Want You is a big hit on BCN by L88. I put them in the Worcester Centrum with Bluistico. And Hirsch, we're in the studio, and Hirsch just cuts the tape, and I'm like, make a safety, keep the long version. But, you know, he's the producer, and he just cut, made the short version. It was a hit on local radio. But
I remember when this came out, and somehow this was a big seller, you know, around here, but somehow it was something on here that it made. Someone sent us a top 20 from Mexico. Oh, you might remember this.
Not only did this get play in Mexico,
but someone wanted us to go on tour because it was being played, and it was actually above the Bruce Springsteen albums.
This did really well in Mexico City because we had Green World Distribution, which was Enigma Records, who had, Enigma Records had Poison, and they had a distribution branch called Green World, and we were big in Mexico City with this. And I think somewhere in L.A. we were getting some action too.
Yeah.
Green World went under, unfortunately, but Steve Ricardo was a colleague of mine, and I vouched for him at Green World, and he went and signed Poison. So they got Poison because I got them the A&R guy, who's on my Facebook. You know, like everyone's still on the Facebook, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It's just amazing. Steve is actually moving to Pennsylvania. I just heard his post last night. So the guy that he didn't help us get on in Mexico City, but that was Paul. Paul is the marketing guy there at Green World. But those are fun days to get a chart that, you know, you're getting action in Mexico City.
Well, that's when we got a call. It might have been you who called. I don't remember. But someone said, would you like to go on tour in Mexico City? And we said, well, how are we going to do that? And where are we going to stay and all that?
And the passports and whatever. And it was a...
Well, I don't know if you need a passport back. I don't know. But I just... We were thinking about it. And of course, us guys were like 21. Yeah, let's go because we
get in the van and get on the plane.
Yeah. Well, we had a bus.
Oh, did you?
We had a bus.
Oh,
we did have a bus. It's the funniest thing. We had this guy. He was one of our roadies, and we all chipped in and bought a yellow school bus. And we used to drive up and down 95 and do all the college tours and go all. But we decided to. Me and Jim Foley used to. We used to paint. Revere is the big towers where all there's 12 apartment buildings, you know. So when we were playing in the band, for an afternoon gig, we would paint all the studios, you know, all the inside apartments eggshell. So we got so much, we said we can't keep a yellow school bus, so we decided to paint it all eggshell. We rolled the whole bus in eggshell.
That's
and all that.
Funny.
But of course we didn't prime it, so you know, after one winter, all the buses peeling, you know, it was peeling. Eggshell was coming off, you know. It was very fitting to have eggshell because we had a lot of chicks in the bus, you know.
I don't want to hear it. This is a family show. It's family hour.
I know.
But it's okay because they were doing all the T-shirt printing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The band.
Well, yeah, it was, you know, stories not, you know, but we used to drive around. We used to get pulled over all the time by the state police.
Yeah, because the bus looked rowdy. Now the smuggler looks like a smuggler. It's a guy with a, you know, spy versus
it's not
spy.
A flasher. The whole thing was, you know, was smuggling. So the trench coat, you know, you have all the, you know,
spy versus spy. Mad Magazine.
Yeah. I don't know who designed that, but it was, you know,
it was very cool.
There's still some of these. Some of my friends from years ago say, you know, I still see some of the smuggler. You know, the stickers.
Oh, it's a great bumper sticker.
Yeah, oh yeah,
Great name.
They're still on some light poles in Beverly because we used to when we used to go hang them up and put them on poles. We used to put the glue on the paste, so it was like it's glued all over it, so you couldn't even take it off. And there's a story to this.
This is the story of my life in pictures. As I wander through these pages, I'm reminded of all the wonderful memories, great friends, and good times. The older I get, the better I was. Peter Noone.
Yep.
This is an amazing book because it's got him with amazing people.
Well, I saw him. You know, I'm a big fan of his. You know, and he's
Davy
great.
Jones, Keith Moon.
Yeah.
You're Alice Cooper, Noel Redding. It is a stunning book.
Well, I got to tell everyone the story of this book because I went to Mohegan Sun last year, the last couple of years, and I saw Peter Noone, a great frontman, very underrated frontman. So, you know,
one of the best.
And he loves to see me at the shows. You know, he says, "Stand up, the guy. Look at the guy with this hair. How old are you?" And you know, take a bow. But anyway, I went to get this book, the tour book, and so I pick it up, and he signs it, and I go to my room or wherever I went. And I'm reading through this book, and I'm looking at the forward, and I read it's very nice forward, and I go to the bottom of it, and it's you. It's Joe Viglione, music journalist.
I wrote that?
Yeah, it's right here. Get your binoculars on.
It is good writing, isn't it?
Oh, it really is. And
it was I am not worthy. It's like the manager called Peter and said, we need you to write the forward. And God bless Peter. He said, call Joe Vig. He's the best. God bless him.
I sing Peter Noone's song. See, I'm leaning on the lamp.
That's what Jana told me anyways. Jana's wonderful. Hello, Jana. She'll probably be there. I don't think I'm going to make it this weekend.
Oh, it's this Saturday, yeah, this Saturday.
I was going to go.
I'll be right in the front. He's going to love seeing me.
I love heading down there. I get a lot of friends. You know, I don't think I can make it, though. I just got a lot of writing to do. I'm editing someone's book. There's just so much work, you know.
I'm doing so much now, recording and all this, but I just got to find time to go down there and see him. You know, before
you gotta because
before they toss me out of Mohegan Sun forever, huh?
Well, it's fun, Mohegan Sun.
Oh, it is, yeah. If you can win,
it's just a fun atmosphere, though. I like walking through there. It's just really cool. You know, the gambling thing is kind of weird because you know it's just
Well,
get
they give
that
me
negative connotation.
But they put me in the high roller suites. I don't know how to become a high roller, but
high
I get
roller
it.
suites.
Yeah. I used to have money. Yeah.
That's funny. He used to have money, and he goes to Mohegan Sun. You can do the math.
That's right. They'll be tossing me out by the end of spring, when they figured out that I keep going there and I don't spend any more money. So,
you know, they'll find other people that will.
I'm sure. There's a sucker born every minute.
My addiction is music, and this little TV show, which is fun. I had so much fun on the classic North Shore rock and roll show. It's fun to go to other access stations.
I was telling Laura about the time you were on. And if you remember, you know, it was an August day, a summer day, and I think
I'm in shorts and a T-shirt.
Well, the funny thing is that you were supposed to be there. I forget the time. It was like 4 o'clock, and so of course you're on time. And you remember you had to ride through that. All of a sudden, those big thunderstorms came up, and you had to ride through the thunderstorm with the light. And you come in there. Oh my goodness! I just went through this worst storm. I wish I could have canceled. You know, I didn't know. Well, I didn't know it was supposed to rain. You know,
Not your fault.
I know, but it was. You know.
And then we're doing the interview, and Buzzy Linhart calls in.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
We talked to Buzzy last week because John Lennon's engineer died, Roy Chikala. Remember Roy? He did a lot of Lennon stuff. And he passed on last week, so Buzzy called in and gave his John Lennon story. Do you have a John Lennon story?
Do I have a John Lennon story?
Do you like John Lennon?
Of course I do. Of course. Who doesn't?
Favorite John Lennon song?
Across the Universe.
Wonderful song.
Oh, yeah.
The rare version with all the birds flipping?
Oh, yeah. With all the harmonies.
Because that was on some English LP. It was a benefit record.
Yeah. Which I never even found that, the original record.
You can find it. There's like a vinyl.
I mean, back then you really couldn't, I don't think.
New England Music City, when it was around, it would have them, but it's long gone. You could find this, I forget the title, but All Across the Universe was the first song on it. And then when Let It Be came out, it was a different version, different mix.
Phil Spector did it.
Yeah, I love Phil Spector's work on that.
Yeah, McCartney didn't like it. He had all the angels and all that. But when you hear that stripped-down version of not Let It Be, Long and Winding Road, I understand what he means.
I love them both.
Oh yeah, of course you do.
You know, but Don't Let Me Down on the bootleg is amazing. There's a Don't Let Me Down on the bootleg that's superior to anything. It's the Let It Be bootleg.
Yeah. I got it. I think it's, I got it. It's blue, right? It's a blue.
Well, they had a
blank cover. It's a blank cover.
It was one of the first bootlegs out. There was the Great White Wonder, Bob Dylan, Let It Be, and then the Rolling Stones, Liver Than You'll Ever Be. Those were like the 3 pioneering bootlegs.
Yeah.
Then Joplin and Hendrix.
I have that Let It Be one. And I think there's a bunch of beeps in it, right? It keeps going beep between songs. Is that, no, actually, that's Sweet Apple Tracks. Sorry, that's another one.
Well, did you know, a friend of mine, and a few friends of mine, but my friend Jimmy out in California, his name is Jimmy Miller. Nothing to do with the Stones. I have 2 Jimmy Millers in my life, right? Jimmy collects classical music and operas, and what they do is they have been taping since like the early days of audio, like back in the 20s and 30s. Did you know this?
No.
People were doing audience tapes of classical music and opera way before rock and roll was getting into it. So there's a whole network on the web that you can tap into with vintage recordings of opera and classical music that we rock and rollers had no idea that the whole thing of audience tape started 100 years ago. Is that amazing?
It's really.
When Edison first started teaching people how to put stuff to fixed media, they were doing it. So now there's a whole classical world. But these bootlegs are so important. To hear...
Yeah, I have lots of them. Yeah.
I like what Phil Spector did with For You Blue. Wasn't that unfinished? George Harrison's song was like in pieces.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Was it in pieces? I wasn't sure. Really?
It hadn't been finished, so he looped it and he made a song. And John Lennon noted, you know, Phil worked, he was kind of crass about it, but he said, Phil worked like a slave, I'll say, on the record. And Lennon appreciated what Spector did, and forget Spector's
Well, wasn't
foibles.
Alan Klein that got Phil Spector to do that?
Probably.
I think so.
The Beatles were hanging out with Spector. Maybe it was Klein.
I think it was Klein, I remember. Somehow.
You know,
That's because McCartney didn't like Klein, remember? So they had Klein do all this. That's...
Well, you know, I met Alan Klein twice at his office. So that was an interesting thing. Any Beatles conventions coming up? That'd be a fun thing.
I saw something not too long ago.
There's got to be, because there's so much Beatles stuff starting next week.
Exactly, I know. Oh, you know, we can always come see Britannica. We play tons of Beatles.
What do you play? What's some of the songs in Britannica?
Oh, we do like Hey Jude, Let It Be, Revolution, 8 Days a Week, Birthday. It goes on and on, really.
So Hey Jude does a number on your voice. You got to like, it goes on and on.
That's all right.
Is
I still
it?
got my voice usually. Me and Pete, we actually emulate Pete Tentendo.
And he wasn't in Smuggler?
No. He's just turning 30, you know. So he's
Wow.
like my best friend, you know. But we and him do the McCartney Lennon thing. We switch off, you know. We don't even have to practice. We just harmonize. It's perfect. People just amazed, you know, that we can pull off all the Beatle things.
It's not easy to do.
We can even pull off. You know, we learned with Britannica last few weeks is the Zombies.
Time of
the season. And me and him we nail it.
Song.
We nail it.
Tough song.
Oh, we nail it. Don't even have to practice the vocals. We just nailed it like that. Boom.
Groundbreaking tune.
Yeah. I saw them at Mohegan Sun Wolf Den like a year ago. And they were just there like 4 months ago, too. They were fantastic.
So, I met Paul Atkinson when he was A&R at, I want to say Polygram, but Paul Atkinson passed away, so they can never have the original guitarist. But he was an A&R man, Mercury, at Mercury. So we met with Paul twice, which is it's kind of neat. You're going to shop your records. Hey, Paul, sign this to Mercury. But it's Paul Atkinson of the Zombies, you know, who's sitting in the chair with the suit and tie and cigar. Not really a cigar, but that's the Pink Floyd kind of image. So who was in it? Rod Argent?
Oh, yeah. And Colin Blunstone.
Love Colin.
And, I can't even think of his name. He's with the Kinks bass player for like 15 years. When the
Nick Avery?
No, the bass
That's
player.
the drummer.
I can't even think of his name.
These are things we used to know off the top of our head.
I got to think, now we're going to be thinking this whole show. But he was the Kinks bass player from 1978 to the end of the Kinks. You know, now he's with the Zombies.
They don't do a Kinks tune, do they?
No, they don't.
They should.
No. They just should. I was talking to the bass player after the show or the next morning, and I said, if anyone can write a book, it was John. I forget. But anyway, if there's one guy that's going to write a book about the Kinks, it would be the guy who's been with him for 15 years straight on the road. You know, Jim Rodford. Sorry, Jim. Jim Rodford.
Do you do Waterloo Sunset in your gigs?
I do it as a solo.
Solo.
Yeah.
So Pete gets off the stage and you can do a little.
No. We'll go out. I'll do some solos here and there. You know.
Solo gigs.
Yeah. Then we do some duets. We get the 5-piece band. You know, with the keyboard player. Now we just got Steve Caulfield. He just joined in July. He's got the keyboards with the Knights in White Satin flutes and the Mellotron patches.
Was Steve Caulfield in Fox Pass years ago? With Steve and Max.
Was he a keyboard player? Probably. I'll have
Back
to
in
ask
the
him.
day.
He's probably going to be watching the show.
Yeah,
soon.
ask him if he was in Fox Pass. Because there
Steve,
was a
were you
time.
in Fox Pass? I remember that name.
Yeah, I've guest starred with them. I was supposed to play with them 2 weeks ago, but we canceled the gig. I canceled the gig.
Yeah.
We were going to do the Velvet Underground's White Light, White Heat. John said, hey, we don't have a headliner tonight. And I said, hey, I'll get Kenny Highland. My band couldn't do it. I play twice a year. We'll have to do a gig sometime.
Really? I know.
Britannica and get Danny and Paul together. And Lady Carolyn, remember her? Mm-hmm. She lives up the street in Woburn. She's a singer in my band. We should do a duo thing. Oh man, time of the season, that is tough to do.
Well, we couldn't do it until we had a keyboard player again.
So how many people in the band? Steve
5.
Caulfield. Oh,
Yep.
I didn't realize it was that big.
Yeah, well, we went from 5 to 4, then 4 to 5 again. But we have a great, the great personnel now. It's the best incarnation of Britannica.
Pete's on guitar and you're on guitar.
Lead guitar, yeah. He's lead guitar, and I'm rhythm. I'll do the acoustic, and sometimes, like Ray Davies, go from acoustic to electric.
Yeah, sure.
We get Ed McNiff, who was our original bass player for Smuggler, and we get John Zozanello on the drums.
I don't know him.
No, he's a great guy. Nice backbeat. That's what we want, backbeat.
This is a bit of a historic show, Ted. I'll tell you why. You being on the show tonight, because Visual Radio probably has more Boston rock and roll interviews than any other show in history. Mm-hmm. We probably have over 100 hours.
I'll bet you.
So it's so important to have you on to talk about, you know, working with Dinky Dawson. What was it like being in the studio with Dinky?
It was great.
Was it down the Cape?
It was in Burlington. I forget the name of the studio.
Oh, Sound Design.
Sound Design. You remember more than I do.
Well, I used to record there too.
Well,
so you went to Sound Design. All
well,
right.
Vinnie Vincent used to record there.
Of Kiss.
Yes, and Squeeze. Was it? No, that was UK Squeeze first, then Squeeze. One or the other. Whatever the first Squeeze was.
They used to also do a lot of live broadcasts with the truck. So they did a lot of the Westwood One things. They had Men Without Hats. They did a lot of the big shows at the Avalon.
That was Sound Design was a big studio. It really
he passed away, you know.
I didn't know that.
Bruce Mancinelli is gone. Bruce Mancinelli used to live up in Woburn. He owned a guitar shop on Wynn Street after the recording studio. But now the manager of the guitar shop now has Performance Music Center in Woburn. So it's all gone kind of full circle. And he was Astra with Anthony J. Resta, who now produces Duran Duran. And Mark Farner. Have you been to Resta's studio?
No, I haven't.
That's up in like Chelmsford or something. That is an amazing place. You got to go in there and just see it.
There it is.
We got to take.
I'm looking for.
Super Sound, Boston Rock and Roll Anthology, number 17 on the charts. This is.
Yeah, there you go. See,
I've got this in storage. I could not find this.
I'm looking.
If you asked me to go looking for this, I couldn't find it.
Well, I got tons of stuff. I'm looking for the Dinky Dawson thing we have here.
Super Sound Records, Bob Marley and the Psychedelic Fur is number 1, Bob Marley number 2. So our record is number 17, and then Nick Cave, The Cure, Elvis Costello, Billy Squire, Pat Metheny, Wendy O. Williams, and the Untouchables, all after us. Springsteen was before us. He's at 14. We're at 17.
Oh, I thought we beat him.
Twisted Sister right above us. But hey, this is in Mexico City, and our little record was in the top 20 in Mexico City.
That's what I was talking about. And
I mean, you know.
You can't see it, but there's a picture there's Dinky right there. That's Sound Design. You know, if you read the little caption, you know, unfortunately, you know, you can't see it.
You did. I can't control myself. I forgot.
Yeah, actually, I don't have that tape.
I would love to get a Xerox of this. No
Sure Sunday. And this was taken from Sound Design. It looked like a happy bunch. You can't really see it, you know, but
young Dinky Dawson behind the glass.
They said young, huh?
No, I'm saying young because I've known him forever.
That was it. That was from there too. Yeah.
So those were the Vinnie Vincent days.
Well, that was Sound Design. Yeah.
Yeah, when Vinnie was there.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fascinating, because we had the late great Jimmy Miller producing us at Sound Design. You had the great Stuart Dawson, who worked with Steely Dan, Fleetwood Mac, Lou Reed.
The Birds.
The Birds. He did the demos for Orleans.
I didn't know that, really.
The demo for the album that was Love Takes Time, Yours and Mine. So he cut the demos. I actually have a copy of them. And it got them their deal with Infinity, and they had a big hit. So, you know, these are storied days.
Speaking of stuff, look at 8-track, $10 per hour. Wow, look at that.
Where's that?
I don't know. Where is this? I don't know.
It was
no wonder nobody went there. They didn't put the name of the place.
It was a fun time that you can never recapture. You can never recapture the day.
Really, in the 80s.
These studios are all out of business. They're all gone.
Well, the Boston scene, you helped a lot of people get on BCN. And we were on BCN, you know, with several songs at least.
Carter was really good about it.
Yeah, Carter Allen. He loves Smuggler. He used to follow us.
Well, he's still on ZLX.
Yeah, I know.
And he has a book out. And Carter, you're invited to the show. God bless him. He put 8 of my songs on one year. They only got spun once or twice, but I got 8 different songs in 1 year. 83. It was a glorious time.
Well, all the clubs. I mean, the Paradise, we had the Rat. I used to love playing the Rat.
Now, the Rat doesn't exist. It's a hotel.
No. Yeah.
And Cantones, the address is gone. It was 69 Broad Street. There is no 69 Broad Street. That's a hotel. So it's now like 71 to 73 or a 67 to 71 Broad Street. There's no 69, which the club was. And I still have the Cantone sign. I got the sign in storage. So we could have a Cantones reunion. Did you play Cantones?
I don't remember. I'm sure we did.
So we could have like a Cantones reunion and put the sign up, you know?
I remember the channel. I remember Bunratty's, that back alley in Bunratty's. Ooh, awful. But it was a great place to play. Where else? Jasper's. I used to like Jasper's. And Jumbo's, too. right?
Yeah, Jumbo's exists, but it's not Jumbo's anymore. Jasper's is long gone.
Well, Jasper's was made famous because George Thorogood used to play there all the time.
I saw Thorogood on top of Noone and Koepp in Central Square, right near the All Asia.
Mm-hmm.
I saw him up there, you know, there was no one in the room, and it was George Thorogood and the Delaware Destroyers. They used to just work the scene.
Mm-hmm.
God bless them all.
But that was fun, you know, the 80s, with the bands and all the places you played, and we, you know, and we did the college circuit was fun. We used to get in so much trouble, but you know, it was great. It was party
I remember
time.
the college circuit. Oh yeah,
Party time. Oof.
it was. If you were lucky enough to have a college hire you, you know, we did high schools too.
Well, oh, high schools were fun, but the college, you know, they would hire you for there would be like a festival, you know. And
Colleges would sometimes have beer back in the day, where the high schools would not.
yeah, oh yeah, you kidding me? Of course.
Yeah, we'd have keg parties.
Yeah.
But
We used to have them
people
on
at
the bus.
you had to be old enough at the college to. It was like seniors, pretty much only, right?
Back then, no, you could do anything. You could do anything, really, in the 80s. You know, the things we used to do on stage.
We used to do the high schools and colleges in the 70s.
Yeah.
I'm talking about way back
Yeah.
when.
We did too. But the 80s was the most fun for some reason because it was you know, rock and roll, you know, and but the 70s was fun. I mean, we got in trouble a couple of times. The funniest thing we did, you know, I got to tell you this, we were hired in the 70s by, I don't know, Dante Productions, maybe out of Salem. Well, he was a booking agent, and we were told we're going to go play this graduation party, but it's a school where everybody, they're graduating from, it's a non-drinking school, so it's a clean school, you know. So you guys want the gig? And they said, sure. So we got in so much trouble there. You know, we got yelled at, and, you know, that was a great gig until, you know, our bass player, you know, I guess, started passing out some beers, you know, and you know, well, we didn't know about it, but next thing you know,
Statute of limitations is
right.
up. He can
That's
talk
right.
about it.
Ed, sorry, throw Ed under the bus, but I always tell the story. I'm writing a book about all this stuff.
You
too.
should.
I started to, and then
Because it's so colorful, and all the people you've met, Ray Davies, and,
yeah,
you know, and
but being
Bon
in the,
Jovi and Peter Noone.
But being in the band, yeah, I mean, I can write more than I can talk here about it, you know, so, because it was great fun, you know.
I want you to stay to the conclusion of the show, but we got about 4 minutes, and then we got to talk to our film critic.
Sure.
So,
Which film?
I think it's a Hercules movie tonight, but you're recording right now. What are these all originals?
These are all originals. I actually started it 5 years ago down Salem Willows. You know, I started doing this with my mixing board upstairs, the techniques, the digital mixing board. We're getting all these songs together. And next thing you know, my mother and father, you know, ended up taking care of them, so I had to put that on the shelf. So I got all those songs saved, and I got all these new songs saved, and I'm resurrecting some old songs that I never recorded, like a song called Son of Kong. And,
Love it.
And Pack Rats. And Son of Kong is actually a 10-minute mini rock opera.
Cool.
It's all about Son of Kong waking up one morning and finding out that Daddy was captured. So he's singing about his dad not being around, and we're going to have the island-like songs on it, and the rockin' songs and the sad songs. Dad, where have you gone? Where, you know, and all that. You know, it's going to be a funny little 10-minute segment with that song.
And will you have indexes so that people can go inside the 10 minutes and just go to the...
I don't know, because you have to follow the story.
Okay.
It's best to follow the story on this one.
All right.
But it's gonna be really fun, along with all the new stuff. And I'm just writing like a banshee right now. It's just, you know.
Now, we have a show here called Music Closet with Jeff Dearman, so you got to bring Pete and the band down and perform live in here.
Yeah,
we don't do that on visual radio.
Yeah, I know.
It's a whole separate show, but Music Closet, we'd love to have you on. And I'm going to... Did I hook you up with Jeff?
No.
I will. I'll email
I
Jeff and you and Dinky. We'll get Dinky up here, too.
Yeah,
Stuart Dawson.
I want to see... You don't want to say not to call him Dinky.
I know, right, but he calls himself Dinky. All right, can I do something funny? I want to do something funny.
You're not kind of practical joke, are you?
No, this is my own voicemail, okay? There's a phone message I want to save on the TV show. And people know I'm highly political. So we're going to do this, then we're going to call Del Estrito and talk about Hercules. Ted, it's been a blast having you on.
No, thanks.
Did you have fun?
Of course I did.
It's not picking up. My own phone isn't picking up. Why?
You're not there.
Here we are. We'll do it another week. I'm going to try one more time. Now I'm upset. So where's the next gig?
Oh, tomorrow at Murphy's in Salem, 300 Derby Street, 7 to 10.
7 to 10, that's like a really cool time to play.
And it gets packed.
Really?
Yeah.
So is it the college kids?
It's our fan base, and plus the college kids go there. They really get into the Beatles things and all that, and the British stuff.
The Beatles thing is so huge right now. You got to hold up Rolling Stone and Time, and
yeah,
you know
exactly. And we do it all on the covers, but we put originals in too. But it's a cover band. So that's why we're all writing. Pete's got his own project going on, original, and I got my own original thing happening now. That's what's great about having my girlfriend Laura, because she hung up on you.
That was not meant to be. That was not meant to be. So we're going to call Delestrito. I'll do that next week. I won't be here next week. Next week we're off, but we'll be back the next week on the 13th.
Frank Delestrito talking about movies.
What do we got, Frank?
What do we got tonight? We got Fire Monsters Against the Son of Hercules, 1962 from Italy.
Say hi to Ted Solovicos.
Ted, how you doing?
All right, how are you?
Okay, please don't tell me he's an expert on Hercules movies.
He's not. Are you?
No, but I've seen every Hercules movie.
Okay. Well,
George Reeves.
Have you seen the Fire Monsters Against the Son of Hercules?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I'm talking about the old ones from the 70s and 60s.
Okay, well, this is from 1962.
Oh.
And actually, the Italians, for a long time, had been making Muscle Man movies. And they became internationally famous with Steve Reeves, when Hercules and Hercules.
That's my favorite Hercules.
So they collected up I think it was 19 Italian Muscle Man movies and put them in a Son of Hercules. So with the dubbing, instead of a guy saying, "My name is Joe," he could say, "My name is Joe, Son of Hercules." Who would know the difference? So this is one of those movies. If you lived in Italy, you would never hear the word Hercules when you went to see this movie, but it became a Son of Hercules movie here. Its Italian title is Colossus of the Stone Age, because it doesn't take place in ancient Greek. It takes place in sometime in the Stone Age. And I won't give away too much of the plot, but it starts off with the sun worshippers are moving south because it's getting too damn cold, and they have a war with the moon worshippers. And as usual, the hero, his name is Machisti, and there were a lot of, I guess I should get the Italian pronunciation as best I can. Machiste is the muscle man. There were quite a few Machiste movies made in Italy, and he was, he wasn't as famous as Hercules, but he was one of their muscle men. But as far as we're concerned, he's the son of Hercules. So, it stars Reg Lewis, who was a bodybuilder. Mr. Olympics, 1956, Mr. Universe, 1957, and Mr. America, 1963. I guess they don't have Mr. Americas anymore, do they, Joe?
They have Miss America, but I don't think they have Mr. America.
Yeah, I think that's gone.
I never followed Mr. America as much as Miss America.
Never followed either of them. I mean, the whole muscle thing is just a little extreme.
Yeah. Well, Joe, I've watched one Miss America pageant from beginning to end. And as soon as a woman walked out, I said, she's going to win. This was like 5 minutes into the show. I said, she's going to win. Well, like 2-3 hours later, she wins. And I said, I can't top that. And I haven't watched one since. Because, you might as well go out on a high note. So...
it is sexist.
I mean, the very title, Miss America, is sexist.
Not as much as Miss
But then again,
Miss
so
Universe.
is the title King Kong. So
Is the title King Kong sexist?
Well, there's no queen in there.
Okay.
Mr. and Mrs. Kong, like Mr. and Mrs. North.
There's a son of Kong.
But no daughter of Kong.
No daughter of Kong, no. No, I've actually written an essay on this.
How about no daughter of Hercules?
As far as I know, there is no daughter of Hercules movies. This is Xena the Warrior Goddess was I guess she was, those were Amazonians, so Hercules and the Queen of the Amazons, her name escapes me at the moment.
Well, our audience really is desperate to know if the fire monsters were the moon worshippers or the sun worshippers.
Actually, the fire monsters seem to give the sun worshippers more problems than the moon worshippers, but they really, the only one who's got to put up with them is Hercules. And the fire monsters basically are dragons, and they are huge puppets. So there's only so much you can do with a huge puppet. But, I mean, they don't move particularly fast, but they tangle with Hercules. You do not watch this movie for its special effects unless you want to look down on it. And, you know, there's something, you know, with a surrealistic title like Fire Monsters Against the Son of Hercules, looking down on this movie is not hard. If that's how you get it, that's fine. But that's up to you.
Can you see this free on YouTube?
I saw this on archive.org. I don't know if it's on YouTube. It might be on YouTube. There's a lot on YouTube. I usually go to, for your movies, I usually go to archive.org, which has...
free movies, archive.org.
All right, archive.org. A free lot of stuff. Free music. I mean, movies is... video is just one of their major subtitles.
Free books. Tons of free books.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I've only gone there. Okay, well, you know more about it than I do. In fact, I think you're the one that told me about it. I think you said once, Frank, stop complaining you can't find these movies we show. Go to archive.org. And I have been there ever since. Joe, one great thing for me about this movie is that I use Wikipedia almost every day. I have never found an error until today when I was looking up this movie. If you go into Wikipedia and put in Fire Monsters Against the Sons of Hercules, it comes up. And when you click on it gives the star correctly as Reg Lewis. And when you click on Reg Lewis, you don't get our Reg Lewis. You get a British soccer player named Reg Lewis.
You can correct it. You know, you can just create an account and correct it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I'll leave that to one of your listeners who already has an account.
Go up and correct it, people.
Okay. And, yes, go out and correct it, because Reg Lewis was a soccer player who was probably too old to play Hercules in 1962. And so I don't think I don't think his legacy. He's now no longer with us. I think our Reg Lewis still is.
Now, Ted being a musician, is there a soundtrack of value here?
No.
Well, have you ever seen Ferry?
I would not. I'm not a sound man, as you know, Joe. I would not be surprised if the Italian Muscle Man movies have one soundtrack between all 400 of them, or however many there are. You know, it builds. You know, when Hercules comes on, there's a kind of a brassy da 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 da. You know, and when the fire monster comes up out of there, there's a doo-doo. And but I think that's pretty much what I've grown used to. I don't think I look to these movies for a soundtrack.
For a music movie, you can't find Ferry Across the Mersey. Jerry
no, I don't think you could. But you know, Joe, I actually know, you know, Jerry and the Pacemakers. I'll impress you.
Yeah.
Ted, you don't know this, but Joe always asks me music questions because he knows I don't know the answer. Every now and then I surprise him. So, Jerry and the Pacemakers, right?
Yeah, right. Cilla Black.
All right, okay. Though I don't know if because I'm from New Jersey, and when I first heard the song, I thought they were saying ferry across the Jersey.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, but there was a ferry from, and still is a ferry from New Jersey to New York, unless it was last time I was up there.
You get the Super Bowl this weekend.
Oh, yeah. You got about 45 seconds.
Okay, I got to mention Mae West. Reg Lewis was a bodybuilder, and Mae West toured the country with a stage show, and she populated it with the most muscular men she could find. And she saw Reg Lewis, I don't know, in a magazine or somewhere, and she says, "I want him as part of my act," and she recruited him. And for a while, I don't not to be demeaning to him, he was basically Mr. Mae West. He used to escort her places, and he was in her show for a long time. And only later did he start getting into movies. He didn't have a long movie career. This movie didn't do anything for his career. And I think he made a couple of other appearances before he bowed out. But for a while, he was the man that escorted Mae West about town in the late 1950s, early 1960s. And if any of your listeners are too young to know who Mae West is, who's Mae West, she cannot be explained in the few seconds left. So
well, one of our guests was in a movie, Myra Breckenridge, with Mae West, but that's a story for another day. Frank, great to have you on again.
Okay.
We're off next week. We'll be on in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks.
All right. Bye-bye.
I forgot, before I leave, I got my smuggler jacket.
Thanks, Ted Solovicos, for being on the show. Thank you, Frank Dell'Estrito. It was fun. Did you have fun?
I had a blast.
You're going to come back.
I want to. Get so much
I monopolized the conversation. Sorry.
This is part one.
Yeah, this is part one. Ted's going to host the next show, and I'll be the guest and shut
All right.
up. All right. Views and opinions are Ted's and mine and Frank's, no one else's. Thank you, people. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Hercules, Son of Hercules, whatever. And Reeling is up next. Reeling. We got to get those guys on here. Reeling, guys and gals. Good night.
Good night.